some healing herbs, who provided shadow and also some juices for him to chew the herb and get cured. So something like that should have happened to Jesus Christ if he was true, and we believe he was true. So that is why we read in the New Testament that some ointment was applied to his wounds. After his body was taken down and was kept in the sepulchre during that period, an ointment which in fact had been prepared earlier by his disciples. So the dead bodies do not need any ointments. This also is a sure sign that he survived the ordeal and was delivered alive from the cross, not dead. So this is the second very important area of our difference. And the third is about the Mahdi. They believe that a Mahdi would appear at the end of the time, who would be a bloody Mahdi. Bloody Mahdi in the sense not as an invective or abuse, but bloodthirsty Mahdi. Would take up his sword and kill right and left and destroy all the enemies of Islam and conquer the whole world as if single-handed, who then will be joined by Jesus Christ from the heaven, who would descend, and they both would put up a joint front against all the enemies of Islam, and they would work like the demons of fairy tales, because their breath would be so poisonous that as they breathe, they would breathe death to the enemy. And that breath will be carried far and wide like a poisonous gas. Now these things are mentioned, not exactly as I'm telling you, this is their belief, but as parables or as a figure of speech by Hadhrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hadhrat Massih, the founder of the Ahmadiyya community, has interpreted them very rationally and logically, and it has presented a very different realistic picture of what was to happen at the time when these events would take place. So we follow that interpretation of Hadhrat Masih Maud and reject such views as a Mahdi, demon-like thing would appear, or Jesus, whom we prove from the Bible as well as from the Holy Quran that he was not carried away anywhere but lived a normal life after he was saved from death upon crucifixion. He and Mahdi, we believe, are not two different persons, but they are simply two titles of the same reformer. So if Jesus never ascended to heaven, so he would never descend from heaven. That is to say, live and bodily. Otherwise, of course he ascended to heaven in spirit, like all prophets of Allah did. So that is our belief as against theirs. And again, the life after death, the decree of God, they are differently understood by us. They believe that the life after death would be a carnal reincarnation, not here on earth, but in the afterworld. So people will be reincarnated into their own bodies. That is, the revival would take place not of the spiritual form, but actually as the people here die on earth, so they will be raised. And that is why you might have read in newspapers controversies regarding the donation of eyes or parts of the body. The ulama of this school strongly condemn this as un-Islamic and irreligious, and they warn the people that if you donate your eyes after death, you will be raised blind, because your eyes would have been transferred to some other person, and he would rise with whole healthy eyes, and you will rise only with your sockets. So this is their view of the hereafter. We believe that the body will not be revived. If you believe in the revival of the body, then there are other very serious problems attending this concept. For instance, many people die of an old age, highly advanced old age, with rheumatism and all that, and some dies in their bed, they can't move, some on the wheelchairs. So will they rise like this? What sort of survival that would be? They would much rather die again than to be revived with all the rheumatic problems and this and that, and advanced age. You see, their younger bodies would have died much earlier. So the question is, if they are to be raised as they die, then they must be raised in the form in which they die. So we believe that this is all a very naive understanding of the hereafter. We believe that the soul or the spirit, when it leaves the body, it leaves as an independent entity. And we believe that in the evolution of life to that end and for that purpose, that animal spirits or consciousness has not acquired that quality of independent entity which is required for survival after death. So they die, and they die along with their ego and their awareness of their self. Nothing is left. But man has reached a stage of such highly evolved consciousness that it can survive by itself without being constantly imprisoned in carnal body. Now this belief in the survival of the soul previously was rejected by the scientists on the theory that soul by itself is at best is a package of energy, and a package of energy cannot survive by itself in a form. So it's not possible. Now, well, whatever is possible or not belonging to other dimensions, first of all, it is not for us to decide. Because if the dimension of the soul is different, then we are not in a position to give a verdict about its possibility of existence or otherwise. In our soul, as we experience now, while we live, we can't comprehend it. The orders come from where? Where is the decisive power? And what commands the body? The nerves are only carriers. The brain is only an apparatus. What is mind? This has been investigated by highly qualified scientists, and they are divided among themselves. Some very strongly believe that it is not the brain which is mind. It is something ethereal, we cannot touch, we cannot reach, we cannot comprehend. But that ultimate decision-making authority is something which is everywhere and yet cannot be defined to be here or there. So apart from that, the physicists have now discovered the existence of soliton, which is a bundle of energy which can survive without the need of being embodied in matter. And work has already been advanced on this subject. When this discovery was made in America, the first reaction of the physicists was, well, this is exactly what the religious people used to say. After all, soul can exist. So I'm not telling you this as a layman. I'm telling you on the authority of those who know the subject and who have ultimately reached the conclusion that something like soul as claimed by the religious people is scientifically possible.